Hobart's Hit 100.9. It's Dan and Christy here, and this guy is a multi-talented role model. He's lived an amazing life and experienced everything. He runs a popular podcast called the Darren Petty Podcast, and he joins us right now. Darren Petty, good morning.
Mate, I thought you were about to say I'm a multi-millionaire.
Well, you are. You should.
What are you doing here then, Darren?
You'd be in this studio if you were.
But
I did the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and man, you get some good personal stories from people. I got really emotional during it.
yeah,
Do you find that happens all the time?
absolutely. And I started the podcast with the thought that everyone has a story, no matter who or what. And your story, Dan, was amazing. I didn't realise the depth of radio or the potency of radio in your blood.
Yeah. It just runs through the veins.
It
It courses.
does.
Can you see it?
You are more radio than human.
That's what they say. Just a face for radio and a voice for
Oh.
newspapers, they say.
You have a great voice. But yeah, no, Darren, it is all about collating stories. And that's one of the exciting things when you sit down and excuse this really cheesy expression, but you see Dan naked, like you take off all the layers
Gotcha.
and you just go heart to heart. And
Yeah.
your podcast is all about that, Darren, and you've had an incredible story. I was reading that you once worked with or trained with, am I right, with Arnold Schwarzenegger with your martial arts and your jiu-jitsu and things like that. Is that right?
Sure. So to be specific, I became a filmmaker in my 30s, and I was a former bodybuilder. That came together at some point, and I was asked to film Arnold. So it was a bit of a dream,
Wow.
dream job that I picked up, and worked with Arnold. But that all makes sense once you hear my entire story, because for me it was special because I came up in a domestic violence situation. I fled to Tassie. I didn't move here. I fled here from domestic violence, and started to rebuild my life in Tasmania when I was young, and had a rough one, and it was saved in Tassie. Grew up in a place called Jira House, which is a women's shelter down in Kingston. So one thing led to another. Drug and alcohol fueled teenage life, and then started bodybuilding, and that certainly saved my actual life. That put me on a course to have regiment and things in my life like that. And I became a champion, and then stopped that, started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then started my own academy and started making films for my academy because I knew the value of social media. And back in 2012-13, that was when it started to become really apparent that was coming and taking over. And then I went to a bodybuilding tournament once to film a bodybuilder, and the organizer said, "Why don't you film Arnold?" And I wet myself.
Yeah, I reckon. I would have packed my Dax too.
Yeah.
Because he's a mammoth of a human, and it's some of the greatest films of all time.
Yeah, that's right. And everyone's idol, and everyone says he's my idol. And well, look, not everyone. Dan, you understand.
I understand.
You know?
My CPU is a neural net processor. It's a learning computer. I love that man so much. We have Arnold Day. On his birthday, we watch movies.
I understood a little bit what you just said.
Yeah, I could follow it a little bit, but Darren, that is an incredible story what
Right.
you just mentioned, and all the hardships that you and your mother, I'm assuming by the sounds of it, when you were in the shelter. I mean, there's a lot of women out there now listening, and a lot of children, and a lot of young youth as well that need somebody to look up to and need to know that there is hope on the other side of pain.
Right.
And that was a prime example of how when someone who is just going through something, by all accounts, it sounds like you thought it would never end, and how focusing on something that you loved, even as a kid, finding a sport or whatever it was, an outlet for yourself.
Right.
Is that what you just thought to yourself at the time, just to try and find something that might love me back?
Yeah, look, I'll explain it like this. I went to a school the other day. I went to Bayview Secondary College. Shout out to those guys. Amazing crew down there. And the kids were asking me, what did I want to be when I was a teenager? And I said, I didn't know any of these questions were coming. And I said, look, to be honest with you guys, I didn't really want to be anything. And I just wanted to survive it. I just wanted to get through it. And I think the teachers were looking for more like a fireman, police officer, radio host, whatever. But I literally just had nothing, and I was just like, I want to get through this time, and I think that hit home with a few of them. But they're in the same boat, and there's a lot of youth, and we're looking out the window right now to Hobart CBD, and it's raining, and it looks cold, it's overcast, but I bet you there's some youth out there walking around with wet shoes, little money, living on Centrelink sort of benefits. I talked about to the kids the other day about living away from home allowance that I was on, which is like was like $275 a fortnight or something like this, you know, and it was mostly spent on alcohol and potato cakes, and that's how we grew up. That's how I grew up with my group of friends and people. So look, my message is quite simple. It's for those youth out there that are struggling and that don't see the light of the tunnel, then never give up and find something to remove you from that lifestyle. And there's so many programs these days. And when I say these days, it's a bit of a cop out to say these days, but it's true. Back in my day, I had a social worker, and he was down here in Hobart, and then he died, and that was on my own. Yeah. Literally, they didn't put me into any other program. So I really encourage the kids to talk to their teachers. Man, the teachers are there to help. The teachers are there to put them into these programs. So I really encourage youth to find pathways.
And that's what you've done. You're kind of motivating and encouraging youth there is a light, to the clouds out there, kind of a silver lining to this stuff. Yeah. And that's what you've done this. You've created this, your passion, and now you speak to schools, you do seminars, you chat on the podcast about it. I think it's the most important job that's happening in Tasmania today, what you're doing.
Oh, I appreciate that. And look, there's so many amazing people in Hobart and in Australia that are doing the exact same work as me, better or for worse, and I think I agree with you. It is important, you know. Even today we've got Zach in the house, and he's taking the morning off school to come in and help us help Derek Hickman and I video, you know. And Zach's fine. Zach's got a great family and he goes to a great school. However, I want to help him inspire his circle and his friends. You know, everything's via proxy. You don't have to reach everyone eye to eye, face to face. But with social media, with this wonderful radio station where you've given us the time to come on and talk about this, we're going to reach people. You know, and Zach's going to go and inspire his friends to do better, because I'm sure Zach's got some mates that aren't doing okay, that are not okay. So Zach thinks he's here just to hold the camera, but not really. I'm trying to impart some stuff onto him. Came to me for work experience, and I've taught him as much as I can about life.
Absolutely. Well said, Darren. It is all about as well, like, I mean, I'm a mother of two. Dan is a father of two, I should say. And obviously, you know, there are families out there who aren't doing it tough by the sounds of what Zach's family are, and then families out there who are doing it tough. And one of the most important things we can do is remind our kids out there who are quote unquote troubled that there is always light at the end of the tunnel. We know that, you know, amazing hero here in Tassie, Will Smith, does incredible things for the kids out there as well.
That's right.
JCP, we think it's a tremendous organisation, as is what you're doing, Darren, and just getting the conversation out there to the young teenage kids listening, or even the little ones out there, that you can grow up and get through hard times, and that there is light at the tunnel, like Dan said. And if you could encourage any kids out there who are listening, could we direct them to somewhere that you can get involved and learn more about you and the causes and things that you're doing as well?
Yeah, sure. So the first thing I tell these kids, and they hate it, is stay in school. And they think I mean do the work and toe the line, but no. I went to school simply so I had friends. I went to school so a teacher looked me in the face and asked me if I was okay. I went through 7 to 10 and then 11 to 12 at Hobart College, through and a high at Hobart College. I simply went to school drunk, under the influence of drugs, and the teachers would sometimes just, you know, as just as a saying, just check my pulse, you know, just to see if I was okay. So that's the first thing. Go to school and stay in school. At least try and get through 10 to year 11 or 12, just so you are safe. And just so you've got that regiment to go and be looked after. There's so many programs out there. This school holidays, I'm going to run a mentoring program down at Hyperdrive Kart Racing Centre, where my podcast studio is now. And you can get onto that with just through darrenpetty.com. Pretty simple. JCP, get hold of Will Smith and get involved in his programs. Go down to the youth centre down here in the centre of Hobart. Just rock up. look, a lot of this stuff wasn't around. I used to hang out in Franklin Square and just throw cigarette butts at people, you know, and we were lost. But I think times have changed. I don't go, I can't even walk through Franklin Square anymore. You know,
Too many paparazzi.
No. Quite the opposite. It's the feelings that I have. There's certain places in Hobart, you know, where I've been upside down with drugs and alcohol. You know, so this city I love this city, but it also holds some pretty dark memories for me. But for youth, please go out there and find something, find anything to keep you busy, and look, try and remove yourself from toxic friendships and situations. And if you don't have any toxic friends, or you don't have anyone that's bringing trouble to your life, maybe you are the one. You know, so stop it.
That's
So true. Wise words, mate. And being that light in the darkness for all these kids, hats off to you, being a mentor and, you know, encouraging people, especially youth, because if you don't have that support network, kind of like you don't see the other side of the fence. But, you know, what you're doing is incredibly brave and incredibly awesome, mate. And on the popular podcast, while we're at it, who's some of the guests that we've got coming up on the Darren Petty podcast?
Christy.
yes.
Christy Hayes.
We've reached out. She reached back, and we're going to set that up.
I need to come down to Hyperdrive and get behind the microphone, and we can spend some time talking in detail.
Get behind the mic and the wheel.
Yes,
We'll have a race afterwards.
that would be fun.
Beat the Stig.
Dan beat me last time at Hyperdrive, but maybe we can fix that again.
I played years of Mario Kart.
We did. And
True.
and I just
Very
need
true.
to specify as well, if perhaps something has triggered something for you within this conversation, there is always help and support available 24/7. Please do reach out to 1-800-RESPECT. And Darren Petty, you've definitely got our respect. It's very important what you're doing, and I know that all the kids out there listening now, it's just nice for them to hear that life can be hard and they don't know where to turn and they don't know where to look and they don't think things will change. And things can change. Things can really change if you can put your best self forward and reach out when you need help and want to be that change as well, you know. So keep on doing what you're doing, my friend.
For sure. And look, if you're really interested in meeting me or coming down and getting involved face to face with something that I'm doing, you can come down to Trojan Academy, and I can teach you how to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and we offer Muay Thai, which is a stand-up fighting style. You can come down and get involved in that. And I really do think martial arts. Earlier, I talked about bodybuilding. And look, I don't think it is a healthy pathway for most people. Fitness, fine, but bodybuilding specifically can get toxic itself. But martial arts, amazing. And there's plenty of places to do martial arts. And if you're down in the southern way, down in the southern area, come and check me out. trojanacademy.com.au. Just jump on there, chuck in a free trial. It's not as scary as you think. I'm not as scary as I look. And, this is what we do. We're providing things for youth and anyone to do in Hobart.
Well, appreciate your time. Darren Petty, darrenpetty.com if you want all the details about any of your exploits. You do everything, finger in a lot of pies, mate. But really appreciate your time and have a good rest of the day.
Thanks, Dan and Christy. I'll see you, Christy, on the podcast very soon.
Look forward to it.
Let's do it.